Hello book friends! Today I'm doing something a little bit different. Today's reading vlog is going to be dedicated to just one book, and that is a book I'd never heard of. And it is The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections by Eva Jurczyk. I had never heard of this book, never heard of this author. I was just browsing through the library, the news section, and I saw this and I saw that it was about libraries. And I thought, what the heck? It seemed interesting. I read the synopsis and it sounded like it was going to be just a fun mystery. And so I thought, why not? I've been reading a lot of the same authors recently. A lot of the authors that just have been recommended on BookTube, BookTok. Things that I've seen a lot of other people recommend. And I haven't really gone out much and tried to find an author that I really like for myself. So I thought I would give this author a try, and I'm glad I did. So I'm going to be structuring this vlog a little bit differently from a typical vlog. So I'm going to be discussing the book in a non-spoilery way. So if you want to just have a non-spoiler review, then you can just watch the first section of this video. After this section, I am going to go into more of a vlog section where I recorded some clips of me talking about the book as I went through it. Those clips are non-spoilery. I wanted to make sure I wasn't giving away the plot as I was recording those clips. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can still watch that section. And then at the end of the vlog, I will have a spoilery review. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then I will let you know. I'll probably put it pretty big on the screen that there are spoilers in that section. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch the last bit. But yeah, this is gonna be fun. So we're gonna go through my entire experience with this book from when I first picked it up all the way until I was done. And I closed the book the final time and I thought, was that worth it? So if you'd like to follow my entire adventure reading this book, then just keep watching. So The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections follows a woman named Lysol. Lysol has worked at a university library as basically the second-in-command librarian for about 40 years. She's been there for a very long time. She handles a lot of admin responsibilities. She is the second in command to the head librarian, whose name is Christopher, and she has been relatively stable in that role for over 40 years. But recently she's been on a sabbatical because she's writing her own book. So when the story starts, we find out that Christopher has had a stroke and he's now in the hospital in a coma, and Lysol has been appointed to be his temporary replacement as the head librarian. Lysol's first order of business as the head librarian is to receive this special collection of very valuable books. So this is a set of, I think, 6 just very valuable books. They're a first edition and they're worth about $500,000. So the story begins with Lysol trying to open the safe where she assumes these volumes are kept because Christopher received them and put them there, even though she never saw them be put into the safe herself. And she's having some trouble opening the safe because Christopher didn't give her the combination before he had a stroke and went into the hospital. Finally, she gets the safe open and she finds out that the books are not in there. She doesn't know if they're lost or stolen, but either way, she has to basically put on a show to appease the donors where all the money is coming from in order to buy these books. So that is issue number 1. So basically, Lysol's issue is finding out, are the books lost? Are they stolen? If they're lost or stolen, who lost them? Who stole them? These are very valuable books and she needs to find them. So there is an interesting cast of characters. So we have Lysol, who is the main character, Christopher, who is a character, although he isn't actually there. I mean, he's there, but he's in a coma, but he doesn't speak for himself. So all of what we know about Christopher is through the lens of what other people say about him and how they perceive him. So then we have the other characters who are working with Lysol in the library. We have Miriam, Dan, Francis, and Max. All of these characters are suspicious in their own way, as they need to be in order to make this an interesting mystery. So Miriam, she just has a baseline of odd behavior. Max is just like a know-it-all nerd. He's annoying. Dan is just the resident lazy jerk. And Francis is closest with Lysol out of all of the coworkers, and they are having a slight affair. So all of these people are strange, and when we dig into their past, they all have suspicious pasts. So about their past, I don't want to give any spoilers about what each character had going on now, but if you want to know more about my thoughts on each character's past, then you can watch the spoiler section. So it's set in and around a library, which of course I love. Libraries, they just feel like home to me. Like when I was in college, I spent a ton of time in the library. It was my hangout, whether I really had reason to do work there or not. I just hung out there because it was fun. I was also known to sneak my lattes into the library in my purse. Don't tell anybody. So the atmosphere just felt homey and comforting in that sense. But in terms of the story, the atmosphere was very tense. Of course, there's a lot of money on the line. That makes everything tense. I really couldn't blame Lysol for the intensity that she was showing. Like, she just had a ton on her shoulders, and you'll actually see in the vlog clips, I was getting pretty irritated with Lysol because I just felt like she was not seeing the bigger picture, and she was being pretty stubborn. It was actually me that was not seeing the bigger picture. So you'll see this in the vlog clips. Lysol just had a ton at stake, and she showed it through her demeanor. She had been at the library for over 40 years. She had her reputation to protect and just her legacy. And then she was up against, the usuals with men. There was a lot of money on the line. She was dealing with men who didn't believe that she deserved this job or that she was capable of doing this job. And so she just had a lot going on. So I think I could have had more empathy for her throughout while I was reading the book. And in the end I did, but that might be something that I would work on for myself, just having a little bit more empathy for someone who maybe seems like they're just being annoying for no good reason, but really they're just, facing things. And so I think that's kind of a good lesson, that we should all just have a little bit more empathy for people, because you never know what they're dealing with. So getting off my soapbox and getting back to the book, I found the book interesting all the way through. Like, there really weren't any lulls in action. Not that there was a ton of action, but there was always something interesting to be discussed. And so there really weren't sections that were boring. Again, about just my love of ensemble casts, I think the fact that there were a bunch of characters in this book and all of them were delved into with their backstories, I thought that made it interesting, because there really weren't sections where we're just going into what I would consider excessive detail about one character. Instead, we got to learn about a whole bunch of characters and see why they may or may not have been the culprit. I enjoy that structure, and so I really enjoyed learning about all of these different characters. I found it very interesting. Whether or not it really worked out well in terms of the bigger story remains to be seen, and I'll discuss that more in the spoiler section as well. But it made for an enjoyable read-through, getting to learn about all of these different characters. So all in all, I really enjoyed reading the book. It was fun to read. I was never bored. I was always riveted, wanting to turn the page. I thought it was great. So if you haven't heard of this book, I don't blame you. I haven't heard of it either. I would recommend it. I thought it was a really good mix between a plot-driven and a character-driven. There were a lot of interesting bits about the characters, but there was also a plot. Yeah, I don't like books that swing too far in either direction, because they tend to just feel one-dimensional, but I thought this was a great in the middle. It had an interesting plot. There was a conflict that wasn't all in the character's head. Sometimes that annoys me. And there was an interesting cast of characters. We got to know all of the characters. All of the characters had their own distinct personality. And yeah, I just thought it was great. I highly recommend it. You should check this book out. Yeah, you should check it out. I really liked it. Yeah, read it. So I just started reading the Department of Rare Books and Special Collections. So far, it's off to a really good start. The plot is getting started quickly, it's moving. I think I'm only about 18 pages in, but already I am hooked. We've already introduced the main characters, and there's been and like the suspicious person has already came slithering into the library. So I think this is gonna be great. And I'm very excited to keep reading. So I will update you when I guess I know a little bit more about the plot and the characters and which direction I think this is going. Because so we know that there's gonna be a theft of a really important book from this library. So we will see if this book can keep up the momentum. I hope it does. I think this could be a favorite if it all goes well. So far, the writing style is really easy to read. So far the writing style is really easy to read. There's not a lot of info dumping, and it's just moving along quickly. So I really like it so far. And yeah, I will update you when I have more thoughts.
I've been chasing you like the tail of a dog. I don't get no sleep when we kiss in the dark like we do. I just love the way it feels. Yeah, I know it's bad, but I can't resist. When I look in your eyes, I don't know what is real. All I know is that I could go anywhere as long as you're with me. Oh, I'm drunk and I know it, but
there's a lot of self-important men in this book.
yeah, 'cause no one knows if we're just jumping out the window, trying to cling on to it. You got me holding on to something I know it can burn me down, but I don't care about it, 'cause I got you close. I'm kinda hoping that one day we'll get the rhythm of it.
So I'm on page 72 now, which is just about the end of chapter 6. So far, what I'm noticing is there's just a really good cast of characters. A lot of the characters in the book so far are just really well developed, and everybody has such a strong personality, and everybody is suspicious in their own way in this mystery, and pretty much nobody is safe. Like, there's nobody that we've met so far that is just so bland that you're like, this person could this person definitely has nothing to do with it. Everybody is suspicious and interesting. So there's one character that they're really particularly focusing on, and that's Miriam. Yeah, I don't know. It could just be that they're using her to throw us off, because if not, it would be giving away it would just be giving things away way too early. So I guess we'll see how it goes. Right now, everybody has secrets, nobody is safe, and it's getting good. So I'm on page 235 now. I'm almost done, only about this much more. Okay, so in the beginning of the book, I was trying really hard so in the beginning, I really wanted to have grace for Lysol. She was just in a really tough position and kind of got thrown into a role that she wasn't prepared for, even though she was like on a sabbatical. And she came back in order to fill a role because someone became ill. But as the story went on and as her character got developed, she is a really unlikable person, and it's hard. She's one of those that she's just unlikable, but it's hard to really pinpoint why. It's like she is self-centered, and she's just very not self-aware, and she just does strange things. She's very secretive, and like there's all these little things about her that are just annoying. And I wouldn't even say she's annoying. She's just one of those people that they're kind of keeping secrets, and you're just like, well, whatever, I'm just not gonna deal with you. She's one of those people, and it's making it really hard to sympathize with her. I mean, she's still in a really tough position. At this point in the book, we still don't have any answers, but things are becoming clearer, and we're getting into more depth with some of the interpersonal relationships at work, and more depth with her own marriage, the issues that she has within her own marriage, and how she deals with and treats her own daughter, her relationship with her daughter. And she's just one of those people that it's like, it's all about her, and I guess, like, in a way, everybody kind of looks out for themselves, but she makes it very obvious, but she makes it very obvious while trying to not make it obvious. It's like she's very sneaky, And I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint, but she is a very well-written character. Like, I really feel like I understand her. I don't like her. I really don't like her, but I understand who she is, and it's like, you know, this kind of person. And I think that's what makes her such an interesting and good character, a well-developed character. It's like, we all know someone who is like this, and so it's relatable in that way. So she is burning bridges right now, so I guess we're gonna see where this all goes. Like, everybody is still a suspect. Nothing really has been figured out, besides, I mean, some things, but a lot of things are just still up in the air. People are acting weird, so we're gonna see, I guess, I mean, what happened, who took these books, and who is lying, and what, if anything, Lysol has to do with it herself, because with the way her character is going, I can't imagine that she is innocent in all of this. So, gonna keep reading, and hopefully I can finish this today and update you later. To be a little bit more specific, I think the problem here in Lysol's case is she is trying to handle all of these things by herself, and she is unprepared for that. Lysol is really trying to handle everything on her own and trying to prove herself, but she's unprepared for it, and she knows she isn't prepared for this kind of role, and she's in over her head, but she has too much pride to admit it. And like, I guess I don't know what the reason is for her not wanting to ask for help or take any criticism. I don't know if it's just pride, or if there's something else going on, if there's some reason in her marriage, because her husband is very nice to her. He's very empathetic and compassionate, and he's super nice to her, even when she is clearly hiding things from him. We're at the point where she's pretty much cheating on him. I'm at this point kind of wondering why he's even staying with her. Like, he's not stupid. I would think he kind of knows what's going on, but he wants her to say it before he does anything about it. But I don't know. It's like, I don't want to think that is he in on this conspiracy? Like, why is he not angrier? That's one thing too with the whole mood of this book. Like, the mood is very tense but calm, and it's strange because this is quite a big issue. There's a lot of money at stake. Something very valuable has been stolen, but nobody is angry. Everybody's just, oh, well, we gotta find that because it's valuable and this is important, you know, we gotta find it. And it's like, you would think people would be a little bit more frantic over something like this, but everybody is just like, well, who did it? And I don't know, the mood is just strange. So this is one of the oddest mysteries I've ever read. So I'm interested to see where this goes, because I know in mysteries, people act weird, and that's kind of what makes it a mystery. In the Paris apartment, people were acting weird, but this is beyond the pale weird. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a good time so far, so I'm excited to finish. Hello again. Now I'm going to be discussing some spoilers, so I will put it up on the screen that this is a spoiler section. So there are a few things about this book that I want to discuss in a little bit more detail, some that were a little bit irritating, and some things that I didn't like, and some that I really did, and I just want to talk about them. So here we go with spoilers. So my major gripe with how the story ended up and how it just went overall was that the culprit of who stole the books, so that's the first spoiler, the books were stolen, they were not lost, was the most obvious. And when I say the most obvious, I don't mean the most obvious in terms of the story. When you're reading the story, this person was not the most obvious. This person wasn't mentioned at all, actually. But when you look at it like a bigger picture, in reality, this person was the most obvious. And that was one thing that I liked it, but I didn't like it. I know that doesn't make any sense. I didn't like it in the sense that in terms of the story, this person just came out of left field. It's like we were focusing on why it could have been this person, this person, this person, everybody, except this person that it turned out to be. I should just say it. The person who stole the books was Christopher, the guy who was the main librarian who is now in a coma. So I guess what I didn't like was throughout the course of the story, it never mentioned Christopher as being a possible culprit. They focused on all of these other characters and their suspicious traits and why they could have been the culprit. But Christopher was never brought up as a suspect. I didn't like that in terms of the narrative because it felt like it just came out of left field and we had no build up to the fact that it could have been Christopher. But when I thought a little bit more about it in terms of real life and what this author could have been trying to accomplish in like the larger picture, I feel like that was actually a pretty interesting choice. And it points out something about our society that we like to just kind of bury and we don't like to think about. And that is that oftentimes the culprit is the most obvious and just the closest person to the crime. But oftentimes that person is someone who we don't want to blame. Christopher never got to speak for himself in this book because he was in a coma. But everybody looked at him like he was just this grandfatherly, amazing guy, amazing smart guy kind of figure. And no one ever spoke anything bad about him. He was just amazing. And so I can see why no one wanted to pin any blame on him, never wanted to be suspicious of him, but it did turn out to be him. I think that's such an interesting point to be made about the way that our minds, even though there are signs that it may be a particular person, we just want to kind of ignore those and try to pin it on somebody else because maybe thinking that person did it, even if it's true, makes us uncomfortable. And I think maybe that's what this author was trying to get at, to point out that we spend so much time pointing fingers at people, trying to pin things on them because we don't like them for whatever reason, or they're acting a little bit weird, or we just need someone to pin this on because the person who is right in front of us makes us uncomfortable. I didn't get that when I was like reading the book through, but after I finished and I really thought about it, I think that's what the main point of this book is to point out that sometimes the culprit is just right in front of our noses, and if we would just look and put aside the fact that we're uncomfortable about it for whatever reason, that it just makes us sad or whatever, we don't want to pin it on this person, sometimes we just need to look at all the facts and look at the truth and take emotions out of it. Life would be better. And life would be more fair, but the way that we do things isn't fair. And I think the author was trying to point that out. So before we got to the fact that Christopher was the culprit, we spent a lot of time in the book delving into the different backstories of all of the different characters and exploring what made them suspicious and why they could have been the culprit. And while I mentioned earlier that I really had a good time reading all of these, they were all very interesting, so I had no qualms about reading them. Towards the end of the book, right after we found out that Christopher was the culprit, I was like, why did I read all of that? Which was a strange reaction for me to have because I did enjoy reading all of it. But I think before I had really thought about it, this was before I'd even finished the book, I was like, okay, why did I read all of that? What was the point of all of that? I just feel misled. All of that was just the author trying to make a story out of nothing, trying to throw the scent so that I would not pay attention to the most obvious person. So like that's how I felt going through it, but that feeling really didn't last very long because, like as I said, there was the time when I was enjoying reading it, I was having a great time, and then there was this really short period where I was like, oh, it's just Christopher, that's it? Why did I read everything? But then after that I was like, oh, I think that's what the author was trying to do, was trying to point out the fact that we will find any reason possible to look in all of the wrong directions, every little thing, just because we instinctually know what the right direction is, but it makes us uncomfortable to go in that direction, to even look in that direction. And so we'll find every reason to not, but in the end, the truth will come out and good will win over evil, hopefully. But it doesn't always. And it's because of our biases, our fears, just ways we've been trained. For an example, one of the characters, Miriam, she has just a kind of baseline of strange behavior, but it was because she was depressed. Early on in the book, she was acting strange, but then she disappeared. She's just stopped coming to work, and it turns out that she had unalived herself due to her depression. But before that is discovered, before her body is discovered, she was implicated by the court of public opinion. She was accused in the news and all basically by everybody, but they had no real evidence, and of course she was not alive to speak for herself, to defend herself. But it was actually admitted by the police and by the president of the library that she was just an easy target, basically because she was not alive and not there to speak for herself, that in order to save face, they could just pin it on her. And that's wrong, but that happens all the time. I think another theme this book was trying to point out was just the role of money in large operations, and the fact that what money wants is often very different from what is right. But money often wins. So in this case, Lysol really wanted to go to the police from the beginning. She just had a gut feeling that the books were stolen and not lost, but basically everybody was telling her, no, you can't go to the police. They must be lost. We're just going to dig and look through everything. They must have just been misplaced. Lysol, I think she knew that basically nobody wanted to go to the police, because if the police found out, the media would find out, and that would just be bad PR. Bad PR would mean less money, less donors, and they couldn't have that. So those are my thoughts on the Department of Rare Books and Special Collections. Again, I thought it was just a really amazing read. I had a great time reading it. I thought it was just super fun and interesting, and I would highly recommend it. 5 stars. I love finding 5-star reads that I'd never heard of. There are so many popular books that I think I go in with such high expectations and then I end up being disappointed. But this one, I pretty much went in with no expectations. And it really surprised me how amazing it was, and I am just so happy to have found this book. I'm going to recommend this to a lot of people I know. I thought it was just great. It had everything that I'm looking for in a book. It had great characters, a great plot, it was interesting all the way through, and it had relevant themes that I thought had, just lessons that we could all learn from and take from this book. So it felt like it was relevant and it was an important thing to read, and it really made me think. It even brought up things in myself that I think I can work on, and that is having this empathy for people and what they're going through, and realizing that I don't know everything that someone is going through. I didn't know everything that Lysol was dealing with, and I was getting irritated with her because she wasn't responding the way that I thought she should have been responding, with the way I would have, and so I wasn't having empathy for her. But really, at the end, you find out that she was right. Even though Lysol is a character and I don't need to feel bad for her, I am probably doing that to people in my real life. So this book is just a great lesson in understanding that you don't know everything, and you should wait till you know the big picture in order to make your judgment. And sometimes the judgment that is right and that you have to make is going to be uncomfortable, but it's the right one, and that's all we're striving for these days, just to be on the right side of history. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. And yeah, stay tuned for more reading vlogs. I think I'm gonna do this again. I really enjoyed doing this. I think it is a better way to do vlogs, just to focus more on one book rather than making kind of a pointless mishmash of a bunch of different books. So yeah, I think I'm gonna continue doing it this way, and I hope you enjoy it. So till next time, bye.